episode of the Daily Days podcast, that retro show that isn't always daily or even weekly sometimes, but does offer astute takes on the weird, the controversial, and exciting developments always emerging in that perpetual marketplace of yesteryear. And I'm, well, Mr. Precario, your humble correspondent and opinionated commentator on everything vintage and nostalgic and often rather nerdy. And today I'm doing something a little different from the norm. I recently did a deep dive into the old Nintendo DS game Super Princess Peach for my website lostnostalgia.com. It was meant to be a review, just a retrospective on a title that never received much fanfare back in the day. Instead, it became more of an analysis of the fair Princess Peach herself, what she was then and what she is now. It's one of my best hybrid reviews/character analyses I've ever done, I think, and I thought, why not? Why not deliver those same words to a greater audience here? The disadvantage, of course, is that there are no pictures. This is just me reading a review, for better or worse. And I recommend those who enjoy this piece to find the written article on my website where there are plenty of visual aids and other insights. Oh yeah, my analysis here. Those more familiar with the princess in her current, more modern manifestations may find my words a tad controversial, even a bit triggering. But listen on anyway, I say. For Princess Peach, that treasured heavenly damsel is far more than what a certain Super Mario movie or recent game might have to say. The musings in this particular character study are just that, contemplations of a character that's been around since 1985. And with that caveat, disclaimer, or whatever out of the way, here's my review to Super Princess Peach, and my tribute to her. The damsel, the angel, the symbol and inspiration both that made Mario superheroic and changed the video game world forever. Ever since her playable debut in Super Mario Bros. 2, fans have clamored for a game in which the princess, not the plumber, got to be the star. But Peach isn't exactly an intrepid character. Gentle and genteel, her name signifies her purpose. More than a peach, she's an agent of peace, a maiden of grace who inspires not violence, but kindness, whose sugar, lace, and birthday cake. A woman more mother than warrior. Something akin to a Marian figure, essentially. Pure unapologetic femininity. But most games need action, a certain level of combat. Even Mario games, as, quote, non-violent as they might be, still involve the stalwart plumber stomping heads and flinging fire at an almost endless cast of baddies. And for a woman of such elegant prestige, violence is all but unthinkable, antithetical, impossible for an angel of such benevolent distinction. And this all begs the very basic question, how would a Princess Peach game play then? What could the heroine do without forsaking her very nature? Indeed, Peach is why Mario exists, to not only battle the evil Bowser, but to do so on his lady's behalf. Let the maiden remain untainted. Leave the goddess to her charity and her good works. Mario, and men in general, lose their innocence so women can save their own. But fans tend to get what they demand, and finally Nintendo found an uneasy compromise between benign damsel and woman of action. Super Princess Peach became realized in 2005, her first and only solo title for the next 14 years. So, how did Nintendo reconcile its gentle princess with a game requiring running and vaulting and fighting? First, Nintendo didn't even bother. Rather, it conscripted Toze, a jack-of-all-trades company known for its serviceable but rarely excellent efforts. And second, enter Perry the Umbrella, or Parasol, a character of both contrivance and utility, used to excuse the princess's sudden knack for attacking. Of course, there's also the setting. After the Mario Brothers and a legion of Toads are kidnapped by Bowser, Peach inexplicably charges off to Vibe Island where her buddies are being held. This island is like a microphone for emotion, magnifying the feelings of its visitors, a side effect the princess turns to her advantage. By tapping the 4 heart icons on the DS touchscreen, players can harness one of Peach's 4 flamboyant emotes: joy, rage, gloom, and calm. Joy, for instance, allows the euphoric Maiden to fly, while rage infuriates her to the point of becoming a literal, ground-pounding fireball. This is a princess not to be messed with. Through these conceits, Nintendo tried to repackage its frilly princess into something more proactive, dynamic, dangerous. But did it work? Not really. Super Princess Peach is certainly buxom with content, offering 8 worlds of 5 stages with each crammed with various secrets and surprises. A shop allows players to spend collected coins on minigames, in-game music, and a slew of new abilities. Hidden collectibles are everywhere, and completing the game opens up even more levels and content. The bosses are also climactic, far exceeding the usual 3-hit formula of the typical Mario platformer. And Perry, that personified parody of a parasol, is a complex personality himself as revealed through a series of increasingly complex cutscenes. For a princess so trim, Super Princess Peach is heavy on the trimmings. The graphics are also well drawn, with backgrounds sometimes richer and more imaginative than the Mario titles they clearly borrow from. And the music, if not quite as hummable as the best Koji Kondo tracks, still suits the action nicely, feeling fruitful and flowery in that cheery Princess Peach way. If this game were a cake, it'd be 15 layers high and decked in the creamiest, sweetest of icing. And yet, for all of its overstuffed plush, the game lacks a certain defining characteristic, or feeling. The precise floatiness of Super Mario, for instance, or the heft and crunch of the Wario Land games, or the wonky slurp, burp, and flutter of Yoshi's Island. Rather than complementing these paradigms, Super Princess Peach feels somehow caught between them, repurposing their best mechanics in a sort of perverse regurgitation. Peach can swallow enemies via parry, like Kirby, toss baddies like Wario, become a submarine like Yoshi, again via parry, and slide down hills like Mario. She can also float, charge her umbrella for a long-distance energy attack, slide tackle, ground pound, and swipe left and right as if using a sword. She's a maiden of maneuvers, essentially, a ninja in pink defined not by a singular skill, such as Wario's shoulder charge or Yoshi's tongue slash, but by an almost bottomless purse of perks. It's both too little and too much, as if the developers, lacking a proper vision, a proper recipe if you will, simply decided to toss in every ingredient they could find. Interestingly, this is not a problem limited to just Toze. In 2024, Nintendo decided to try again itself, unleashing Princess Peach Showtime onto the world. A game that, although radically different from its Super counterpart, still commits the same egregious sin. It can't decide who its princess really is. Why is the sweet-natured lass now wielding a sword or hurling kunai knives, or conversely, back to playing as a pastry chef? Instead of clarifying, crystallizing her core persona, the game splits the difference. She's now sweet and mean and everything in between, a nonsensical amalgam of every princess ever conceived. That heavenly woman that shines above Super Mario 64's castle door has been shattered into a million shards, a million farces, all in the name of postmodern commercialism. The princess who would inspire peace now demands so with a sword. Super Princess Peach, like its leading protagonist, is a product of indecision. It's a mishmash of concepts, original and borrowed, stitched together for an erratic, scattered production. Difficulty is low, the emotive vibe powers feel more forced than truly necessary, and the platforming is curiously flimsy, with Peach often slipping through the edges of ledges and altogether feeling more imprecise than the plumber she needs. But it's the lack of a compelling dynamic, a key mechanic, that truly undermines what could have been a promising franchise. Super Princess Peach, despite having a lovely voice, never quite hits the highest note, never achieves its defining chorus. For all its variety and fickle amusements, the game rarely transcends a certain sense of staid sameness. Levels are more reskinned than redesigned, more akin to a cheerleader superficially chanting the same lines than a practiced performer of real wit and ad-libbed sophistication. The game's root issue, however, is one of archetype, a fundamental and fateful misunderstanding of its chief protagonist. Princess Peach is a symbol of feminine excellence, of charity and temperance. Her role isn't to wage battle, it's to support, serve, and preserve. And here the game waffles, keeping the damsel's cute veneer and winsome pretenses while adding a stack of arbitrary attacks and abilities. Who is this maiden who would so bravely and brazenly storm a dragon's keep and rescue her former champion? The game, being as capricious as its princess, doesn't know. It's but a gaggle of parts without the connective tissue, without the coherent message. It's the classical archetype revised and undermined, different center, similar outline. Years later, Super Princess Peach is best viewed as a kind of progressive experiment. Did fans want a more proactive princess? Could the Big N have its sweet Peach and, well, eat it too? The answer, until 2023, was apparently no. The girl was swiftly reverted back to her more regal demeanor, her one leading role promptly ignored. But the Super Mario Bros. Movie switched the paradigm again, granting Peach the same headstrong autonomy seen 17 years before. Except now, more than a parasol, she wields a halberd. More than merely float, she can now out-jump Mario. Oh, and she's the best Mario Kart driver, too. And compared to all of that, the gutsy heroine seen in Super Princess Peach now seems downright modest. Perhaps Toze had the right idea all along. And so concludes my Princess Peach ruminations, contemplations, ponderances, and all of that. If you enjoyed this, or at least found it interesting, consider giving me a like or comment, and definitely check out my website, lostnostalgia.com, for more thoughtful essays and whatnots. I'm always adding to it. Until next time, then, this is Mr. Picario signing off for now.